Hello, my people. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching me from. Good afternoon, wherever you are watching me. Let us listen for our brother Nnamdi.
In a speedy emergence of these very two nations. We Biafrans and Ambazonians have resolved from this very day to do what we must do and everything humanly possible to ensure that we change not only the narrative, but to begin the process of the eventual reclaiming of our long shared collective heritage, a shared heritage that goes back to the beginning of time. Today, we are indeed on the brink of history. A lot of people never wanted us to get together. A lot of people never wanted us to identify with one another. Those who are benefiting from our misery and our pain, today we have reduced all of them to nothing. Because genetically and culturally, Biafrans and Ambazonians go back to the beginning of time as original peoples of southern Nigeria and southern Cameroon. Geneticists have sequenced and dated the DNA of Biafrans and Ambazonians and discovered them to be one of the oldest DNA on planet Earth. The earliest culture builders on planet Earth, known to archaeologists and anthropologists as the Bantu peoples of Africa, originated from within the regions of Biafra and Ambazonia. We are old people. We are the people of the ancient. From these very Biafran and Ambazonian regions, the Bantu homeland and the cradle of human civilization, the great Bantus migrations of 1500 BC to 2000 BC took place to introduce our collective civilizations to other corners of Africa and beyond. The history of our two peoples, Biafrans and Ambazonians, has indeed been intertwined and shared from time immemorial. Our forefathers were very much aware of this shared heritage and destiny of Biafrans and Ambazonians. And at different times in history, the coming together of Biafran and Ambazonian peoples under collective leadership and cooperation has produced radically rewarding results. We should perhaps mention a few examples here. Examples of the powerful and rewarding results that Biafra and Ambazonia partnership could produce, we are seeing in the liberation of Haiti, a former slave colony of the French between 1791 and 1804 through a historic revolution. Our people are noted because they are warriors. Ambazonians and Biafrans alike fought side by side as one people in Haiti that made Haiti the first black nation on this very earth to shake off the shackles of slavery and domination. This is the origin of such extant Haitian phrases as Igbo Gramon and Igbo Lele, as you have today in Haiti. Similarly, during colonial invasion and the subsequent colonization of these regions, which was nothing but a sophisticated form of slavery, our peoples, Biafrans and Ambazonians, fought colonial enslavement with everything they had. The exploits of Ekumeku, the secret society of freedom fighters in Biafra land that engaged the British invading colonialists for over 3 decades, is still very fresh in our minds. Again, it was to people from Biafra and Ambazonia that the burden of ending colonial occupation politically in the region fell on their shoulders. Hence, we have the activity of the Nigeria Council, the National Council of Nigeria and Cameroon, NCNC, of course, well superintended by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, which was coordinated by nationalists from Biafra and Ambazonia as reference in the anti-colonial movement that would produce the present Berlin Conference design states like Nigeria and Cameroon, which unfortunately Biafrans and Amazonians are suffering untold hardships under. The sufferings and pains of Biafrans and Amazonians are carefully and diabolically designed neo-colonial schemes to ensure that our peoples, who are natural leaders of the Black world, never develop or make any progress, consequently leading to the subjugation of the entire African continent in perpetuity. This diabolical neo-colonialist scheme has not succeeded because the colonial enslavers simply decreed it into existence. No, it was succeeding because some fellow Black people or Africans decided to make themselves willing tools in the enslavement of the rest of their brothers and sisters. And this is something that we are determined to bring to an end. This trend is by no means a recent trend. It is indeed a trend that is as old as the Arab enslavement of Africans and will be perfected through the European enslavement and colonization through invasion of the rest of Black Africa. In Africa, there are groups whose whole economic existence and their worldviews have evolved around their collaboration with those who have no value for African lives and want to destroy Africans by every means. That is how the phenomenon of the Fulani terrorist proclivity have been created over the ages to destroy everything that is African. It is a proclivity that has engendered the existence of not less than 6 or 7 terrorist groups that are owned and operated by the Fulani people, terrorizing people and grabbing their lands across West African sub-region, as well as the areas bordering the entire Gulf of Guinea. It is a proclivity that has been enabled by some evil people, both outside and inside Africa. Both Biafrans and Ambazonians have been victims of this evil. And today, going forward, we have resolved to bring it to an end. Over the years, our grandfathers and our grandmothers have stomached this terrorist proclivity in the hope that it would go away somehow. But it's clear to all that after so much turning of the other cheek, because when they slap us on one cheek, we turn the other cheek for them to slap as well, and payment in blood, these bullies never ever became reasonable. Instead, it has emboldened them. This is part of the reason why Biafrans and Ambazonians are coming together this very day to confront our collective enemies together. We are also coming together to rediscover our shared biological and cultural heritages. Extant anthropological studies point to the cultural unity of Biafrans and Ambazonian peoples because we are one people. Anybody who is doubting us should please consult their genetic studies and DNA mapping, which point to a singular origin of both Biafrans and Ambazonians. It is therefore only logical that this day would come. We are grateful to Almighty God in heaven, for determining that this alliance must be formed so that God's own people will be set free, as only Him has decreed. We are indeed on the brink of history. So far, even though our struggles for freedom have had different trajectories, Biafrans and Ambazonians have a shared destiny. Our collective destiny is to once again lead the continent of Black Africa to achieve the type of civilization that humanity will marvel at, just like our Bantu ancestors did when they civilized the whole of the known world around them. In the coming days, we Biafrans and Ambazonians will be communicating to the world in sequence, and as the need arises, our blueprint for cooperation preparatory to the re-emergence of our nations, just like the Almighty God in heaven, Chukwukika Abiyama, has decreed. In this vein, I hereby welcome every Biafran, every Ambazonian to a new dawn of our shared destiny and collective leadership of our peoples to lasting freedom. Long live the Republic of Biafra. Long live the nation of Ambazonia. Thank you very much. And now.
Yes, sir, and that was a press briefing coming from our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Okukano, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. And let me use this opportunity to welcome the leader of the Ambazonian Liberation of War, Dr. Cho Ayaba. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks to my brother Mazi Nnamdi, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. We have assembled here today in front of our two peoples to declare our intentions to work together to ensure a collective survival from the brutal annexation that have occurred in our both nations. We understand the difficulties that both peoples, the people of Biafra and Ambazonia, have faced in the last 60 years. But we have been discussing in the past few months to ensure that our collective strength be brought together to be more impactful to ensuring that we do not bequeath to the next generation a more oppressed homeland than we inherited. The Ambazonia and Biafra alliance is critical in an area where Nigeria and Cameroon have established two autocracies that have used violence as a political tool to suppress our both peoples. Within Nigeria itself, you have in the north the Hausas and Fulanese who have cross-border relationships in Niger. In the west, you have the Yorubas with cross-border relationship into Benin. The people of Biafra have been denied access to Ambazonia. And we must recall that during the Biafran War of Independence, while countries like France, that is the highest investor today in Nigeria, provided support, countries like Ivory Coast, Norway, and others, the one country being ruled by a Fulani man that refused Biafra the opportunity to receive support to prevent genocide was Cameroon, because Ayijo, a Fulani man, preferred the domination that was exercised by the Fulanis from within Nigeria and Cameroon over the Biafran people. Ambazonia is the only access you have. And within Cameroon itself, while the people have relationship with Central African Republic and other countries, Biafra is our only closest neighbor with massive investment within Ambazonia. Biafra is also the place where thousands of our people have sought refuge and have been treated with great hospitality. And for this, I want to thank the people of Biafra who have taken care of our refugees, and I ask you to continuously support them. Going forward, we are going to work together in different areas to ensure that our both nations emerge from these exclusive servitude imposed by both Cameroon and Nigeria. In coming to this joint press conference, I understand the worries of Ambazonians, and I have taken time to brief other leaders to make sure that I can allay the worries and fears of our people. These worries and fears is rooted in history. We were part of the Eastern House of Assembly in Enugu. But one great difference is when our leaders walk out of that house, there were no helicopter gunships that mauled our people. Our people were not massacred because we chose to establish a capital in Buea. But in the last 4 years, we have observed with great dismay the rapacious policy of Cameroon, the tyranny of a system that is intended on governing Ambazonia without consent. And if I would be given a choice to make Biafra my friend or Nigeria my friend, I will understand that the state that kidnapped and renditioned hundreds of our people, who were then locked incommunicado, subjected to torture, brutality, and sentenced to life in jail, was not the people providing sanctuary to our people. If I would be given a choice between Nigeria and Biafra, I will recall the thousands and thousands of Biafrans who are part of our economy. I will recall history, that when we had a wonderful trade with Biafra, the port of Tico was vibrant. The port of Victoria was vibrant. So too was the port of Port Harcourt and Calabar. But the Fulanese that have been governing Cameroon at that time dismantled our economic infrastructure and made it impossible for bilateral trade between our country and Biafra to take place, subjecting our population to impunity, making it impossible for any cross-border relationship. As you have said, we are one people, interculturally linked. But I also want to remind Ambazonians that I take your concerns seriously. That is why this alliance is split into 3 phases. First, to ensure that both peoples are liberated from the tyranny imposed on them, and to establish within a transitional period methods of collaboration and cooperation to dismantling the economic blockade that have impoverished our 2 nations. And within this period, there will be massive consultations within Ambazonia to ensure that any treaty that will be binding between the 2 nations is approved by the Ambazonian people. This relationship and alliance is critical. Across the globe, nations and peoples and countries are coming together to ensure the prosperity of their people, to ensure the liberation of their people. The Biafrans have been subjected to genocide, ecological hazard, by a few greedy people who have hijacked an entire nation and make sure that they treated the Biafran people with impunity. For the past 60 years, Cameroon rolled its tongues into Ambazonia, subjected our people to economic deprivation, political asphyxiation, cultural intoxication. Those who spoke were murdered. Those who escaped were hunted like games, rendition, and incarcerated incommunicado in the jails of the occupier. For us, the Ambazonian people, we have resolved in the past 4 years to match Cameroon method for method and ideal for ideal, to make sure we arm ourselves to the teeth, to ensure that the brutality that our people have been subjected to in the past 60 years comes to an end, so that we can establish within our own borders economic and political systems that are indigenous to our own cultural and political realities, that our leaders are accountable to our people, that our bounties will be exploited for the development of our people and those who believe in our own values, that our nations will never again, the nation of Biafra and Ambazonia, taken hostage by a few greedy men, our women raped, our children subjected to misery, and our men turned into boys. The era of domination that benefited a few within our continent and beyond its shores, leaving millions destitute, leaving millions moving across the Atlantic, dying in the ocean, must come to an end. We must redefine the contours of the continent. For the notion of Pan-Africanism must be redefined to ensure that self-determination of nations that have been caught under political systems that do not represent their interests becomes the norm. Before there was Nigeria, there was Biafra. You cannot allow yourselves to be taken hostage by a few men who've decided to rape your soils for their own interests. So too are Amazonians. We don't seek this alliance as an aggression against others. We seek this alliance as a means of self-preservation against tyrannies that have curtailed for both peoples our right to survive within our own shores. We mean no evil to others, for everyone has a right to self-determination. And we are determined to exercise this for ourselves and for our people to ensure we bequeath to the next generation a better country than we inherited. God bless Biafra. God bless Amazonia.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful speech coming from Dr. Joe Ayaba. I would want to ask just one question, but then I think it would be very, very imperative, to ask two questions. I wanted to ask one that both leaders will address, both of you will address this question, but I want to ask individual question because, this is a historic event. And I want to seize this opportunity to ask these questions. Now, to our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, the Ohamadike one of Biafra, I want to throw this question to you. Maybe not question per se, but let me throw this question this way. Just a few days ago, I came across an article written by New York Times. And this article said, and I quote, more than 1,800 prisoners are broken out of jail in Nigeria. Gunmen bearing machine gun and grenade stormed a prison in a restive part of southeast Nigeria, many refer to as Biafra. Letting loose any inmate who wanted out. Now, I'm going to also take a line from this same article, which says Biafra in the same New York Times, and that article say, it has been 51 years since the end of the Nigeria Civil War, in which people of Eastern region broke away from the rest of the country. Biafra, the state they created, came to an end when its leaders surrendered after 30 months of fighting. But the Biafra dream is alive and well. And when I listen to both of you, I listen to Dr. Joe Ayaba, I see the same agony, the same story, the same kind of experience. I also have come across an article which says that some of the Amazonian leaders who sought for refuge in Nigeria were arrested secretly and repatriated back to Cameroon against international law. Now, why I made references or try to read from this report is because a lot of people may have somehow different opinion, divergent views about the historic alliance between Biafra and Ambazonia. I want the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, our leader, Mazi Nnamdi, what assurance are you giving to Biafrans, knowing fully well that New York Times, for the very first time since the beginning of the restoration struggle for Biafra, they are now recognizing Biafra in the east side of Nigeria. Can we hear your opinion on this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. And once again, let me commend my dear brother, Dr. Joe Ayaba, for this event this evening, morning, noon, or night, depending on where you're watching us from. I did say many years ago that a time will come when they will talk about us. And that time has come. And they are talking about us because of what we have been able to exhibit over the years: consistency, determination, resoluteness, and of course, above all, being ideologically, philosophically, and spiritually consistent in what we are doing. Because the word secession, I do not recognize. The word, should I say, extremism, I do not recognize either. Because as I have always argued, you cannot secede from something that you're older than. The white man came and decided to create Nigeria. Nigeria is not the creation of God. And if we continue along the same line, including my dear brothers and sisters of Ambazonia, then ultimately the world will recognize what we are yearning for and do.
So my people, don't hear everything where our brother, our oga dey talk, and our brother wetin dey talk. Everything wey dey talk na true. So don't hear everything wey dey talk. Everything wey dey talk na true. If you never subscribe to Eby Media, what are you waiting for? Subscribe and like. God